I'm Todd VanCantfort. I started out on the south end with I forget the troop number, but I think it was St. Anne's Church down there in the south end of New Bedford, Brock Avenue area, and then jumped to a couple of other troops as that one disbanded and new ones came in, and then I ended up with Vic Sylvia and with Troop 46. But I had a ball all the time. Scouting was it was my release. It was my avenue for logic and for safety, and just say it was just a perfect place for me to go to stay involved and do things that weren't really available in the home environment. I went 1 year, so I probably was about, I want to say I was 14, maybe 13. I think it was 13 actually, because you could be a CIT at 13. I went to camp with my troop in the first year. Then the second year, my troop didn't go, so I went as again, I forget the term, but I went where we were a blended troop with a bunch of other kids, and you just do it there. And then the third year, I started as a CIT, counselor in training, and I worked. I was doing counseling training, and I was managing the trading post in between doing other things in the Scoutcrafts and other stuff, but they wouldn't let me do a whole lot at that age. And then my follow-on years, I was in Scoutcrafts and in field sports and the rifle range and the archery range, and kind of culminated working with those areas again until when I was 18, my last year, that last summer there in 1981, and then went into the Air Force. I really liked working in the field sports and in the rifle range and archery in particular. It was the kind of environment that I'm comfortable with. I'm not a jock. I don't play sports. I never really played sports, but it was just eclectic, and it's pickup games of this or that, and soccer games, and flag football, or just throwing the football around, and setting up kind of a fun archery range through one of the swamp areas off to the left. I remember of the rifle range that at the end of the field that would be kind of partitioned off, and then they could walk around and hit the different targets and not just have the stationary statics out there. The people that really stand out to me, there were so many, and the adults would just take so much time with you. And as a staffer, and in my case, because logistically it was challenging to go home on the weekends for the one night, you go home Saturday night, come back Sunday for the next week. And it was just, it was a long drive of getting people to take me out there and bring me back and doing all that kind of stuff. At that time, it just wasn't feasible for my family. So I would spend the weekends there too. But I mean, Mike Escobar was a mainstay. The Patricio brothers would always pop in, and they were just this fun energy of crazy at times. Daryl Sylvia, Ken Cabral, Vic Sylvia, of course. These guys were stalwarts. They were there all the time, and I forget some of the other names, but there were so many faces that I remember. So many people just sitting there and talking to you. And you go down to the family camp on Saturday when all the campers are gone and the families are all out there, and you meet the wives and the extended families, and they just kind of take you under their wing and give you that sense of comfort and safety and appreciation and fun, and they teach you things, taught me fishing and taught me all kinds of things that give you those life skills of survival and balance and appreciation for what you have. We had Bob Smith, I remember, was the camp director. He was the scout executive, very, very stoic, but very gracious. And he was kind of the straight guy in any comedy routine. And then, of course, you had Rob in Canberra, who was completely not. He was just this goofy, comic character that would do things. You get the kids that come through each week, and there's this constant cycle of faces and personalities and leaders, and they just add to that kaleidoscope of your memories of there. So it's really hard to kind of pin any specific one down, if that makes sense. Most of it, we do the canoe trip. I remember doing a couple of the canoe trips that were a lot of fun. And then the evenings, it was mostly just things that we would do together in there. I remember on the weekends, we would all pile into Mike's old 57, 56 Chevy and go down to the movies, the drive-in theater, and watch that and have pizza as the big, staff day out on Saturday night. And we'd all pile back. But it was all clean fun. Yeah. All of my memories as a kid growing up in that period was really the fun memories around that summer camp and around the friends that I made in that summer camp. And we stayed, in contact with each other through those, through the year, and then be looking forward to getting back out there. Last time I went to camp, it was one of the Alumni Association family days that were out there. It was a few years ago now. For the most part, I grew up very poor when we were down there in New Bedford, and we didn't have much. We didn't have anything. It wasn't a completely safe environment all the time. So, Camp Cachalot was my escape, and the scouting activities were what kept me off the streets and out of trouble, and gave me that sense of responsibility that I just wouldn't have gotten growing up in any other way. So my entire career has been doing that. I remember the amount of times that Vic and Daryl and so many others, Ken Cabral, that was in there, and these leaders like Bob Smith and Robin and Mike, and it just really kind of, you see those faces and you hear those voices in your head when you're kind of thinking about, what do I want to do? And I've just always, my passion has been in doing that. And I've always looked for that sense of confidence and that sense of giving more than I take. And that all came from scouting. And that all came from what I learned most of the time in that camp and on the weekend camping trips. Everything I've done in the world, I credit scouting, not my own initiatives. There was always somebody else there with me, helping, prodding, pushing, supporting, advocating, mentoring, from the kid all the way through now. I still have mentors that I rely on and talk to stay true to what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest, the work I did when I left camp and left scouting and started the Air Force, all of what I do, all of the things that I focused on, my entire adult life, my entire adult career has been focused on service and doing more, taking responsibility for myself and all that, like they taught me to do, but also knowing that everything that goes on in our world and where we've come and where we've gotten is because of those people that took the time, like we did at camp, to kind of mold us and remind us of what our responsibilities are as people and citizens and part of the community, and that you can either be a consumer or you could be somebody that makes a significant difference. One of the most memorable things, other than the fires and just some of the goofy things that kids do throughout the years, is we did it. I think we had the one year that the team, the camp nurse, Jean, and her husband, I want to say Casper or something, but that wasn't right. But they were, they brought their whole family with the kids, the really young kids, and they were just this spark of fun with all of that. And for the final Saturday night fire, instead of doing that, and it was raining, I remember us in the dining hall doing the whole event in there, and we ended up acting out Barry Manilow's Copacabana, with Jean being Lola and her husband being the other. It was just, it was a ridiculous ball of fun.